The key turns in the lock with a familiar click. Behind me, the sheriff's deputy waits with a clipboard, radio crackling faintly against the October chill. Through the open door of my Brevard vacation home, I see my mother sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee from my handmade blue mug, the one I bought from that little pottery shop by the lake last summer. There you are, Dad says, rising from the porch swing I spent 3 weekends installing and staining until my hands blistered. We figured you'd come around. I walk past him without a word, straight to the deputy. They don't have permission to be here. Mom's mug hits the wooden table with a sharp clink. What are you doing? Her voice rises an octave, disbelief etching deeper lines into her face. After everything we've done for you, how can you be so ungrateful? The word hangs between us. Ungrateful. 7 years of mortgage payments on their house. Countless repairs. Insurance premiums. Property taxes. All done quietly, without recognition. And I'm the ungrateful one. Ma'am, the deputy says, do you want to press charges? Dad's face drains of color. Aaron, don't do this. I look between them, the people who raised me, who taught me family comes first, who handed away my childhood home like a door prize, who now stand uninvited in my second home, and I realize this is the moment everything changes. No charges, I say finally. But I want them off my property today. As they're escorted to the patrol car, Mom's voice cracks. You're sending us to jail? Your own parents? I meet her eyes directly. Maybe sitting still will make you think about boundaries. And that's when I know. I'm done being the invisible daughter. Flashback 7 weeks earlier, I stand in the warm September sunlight, watching it filter through ivy-wrapped stone columns at a vineyard in Asheville. The gravel crunches beneath my heels as Michael and I approach the welcome table for my sister Lily's wedding. You okay? Michael asks, squeezing my hand. I'm fine, I lie, though I can't meet his eyes. We've contributed $10,000 toward this dream wedding in the Blue Ridge foothills, plus nearly a third of the total expenses. The least they could do is spell my name correctly on the seating chart. But there it is. Aaron Shepard. Aaron with an I instead of a Y. 36 years of being their daughter, and they still can't get it right. Close enough, I mutter to myself. But when we reach our assigned seats, it isn't close at all. Table 9, tucked in the far corner by the bar. No family in sight, just coworkers from Blake's tech startup and strangers I've never met. Want me to switch the cards? Michael whispers. I shake my head. It's her day. Dinner begins, and the room buzzes with toasts and laughter. Courses come and go. Wine pours generously. I decline each glass. Something in my gut tightens every time someone clinks their glass and shouts, to the happy couple. Then the microphone feedback cuts through the chatter. My mom stands, tapping her glass, Dad rising beside her. We just wanted to say thank you to everyone for celebrating our beloved daughter's new chapter, Dad begins. A hush settles over the room. I feel my heart jump. Are they talking about me? I glance around, then back at them. Watching Lily grow into the woman she is today, Dad continues, has been one of the greatest joys of our lives. A slow throbbing builds in my temples. She's brought so much light, laughter, and love to our family, Mom adds, voice trembling with emotion. She reaches into her clutch. And so, we wanted to give her and Blake something to start this journey with, something meaningful. I see the envelope before I register what it is. We're gifting them the house, Mom announces proudly, our family home. It's theirs now. The room erupts in gasps and applause. Lily bursts into tears, throwing her arms around our parents. Blake grins like he's won the lottery. And I sit frozen. The house. The house with the mortgage I've been quietly paying for 7 years after Dad's hours were cut and Mom's arthritis worsened. The house where my name is still tied to the escrow account, the insurance, the repairs. The house I thought would be for all of us someday. Gifted away without warning, without conversation, without acknowledgement. Like I don't exist. My nails dig crescents into my palm under the table. Michael places his hand on my knee. I'm okay, I whisper. But I'm not. I've always been the responsible one. Growing up in the shepherd household meant understanding my place early. Mom and dad both came from families where eldest children were expected to sacrifice. Dad's older brother put him through college, giving up his own education. Mom's parents pushed her to care for her younger siblings while they worked double shifts. They passed those expectations to me, not through words, but through silent nods of approval when I stepped back to let Lily shine, through the way Mom's shoulders relaxed when I handled bill payments without being asked, through Dad's satisfied grunt when I mediated their arguments as a teenager. I need air, I tell Michael, pushing back from the table. Walking along the gravel path away from the reception tent, I stop behind a hedge near the photography area. There they are, Lily and Blake, posed on the porch steps of a backdrop designed to look like a house. My house. Okay, now hold up the key together, the photographer directs. Blake pulls something from his pocket. My breath catches as they lift the brass house key like a trophy, a symbol of legacy, as if I had never existed. I don't say a word during the drive home. Michael keeps glancing at me like he's waiting for the dam to break, for the screaming or the tears. But all I can do is sit stiffly, arms folded, watching the tree-lined road blur past the window. When we pull into our apartment's garage, I get out without a sound, walk inside, and place my shoes neatly by the door. The hum of the fridge is the only noise in the apartment. I head to the bedroom, peel off the dress, hang it carefully, then sit down on the edge of the bed. Michael hovers in the doorway. You want to talk about it? He asks gently. I shake my head. I'm fine. He stays quiet for a beat. Aaron, that was. I should have seen it coming, I say, cutting him off, because somewhere deep down I had. Maybe not the key, not the speech, but I'd felt it building for years. The little slights, the way I disappeared in a room full of my own family. I just hadn't expected the slap to come with applause. The thank you card, the next week passes in a strange kind of haze. I go through the motions, client calls, spreadsheets, case reviews, but my mind isn't really there. Every time someone mentions weddings or family, it's like someone dragging a fork across a plate in my head. Then, on Wednesday, it arrives. A pale pink envelope tucked between bills and a grocery coupon flyer. Michael brings it in and tosses it on the counter. Looks like a thank you note, he says casually. I stare at the cursive writing. Michael Collins and guest. And guest. Not Aaron. Not sister. Not daughter who contributed 1/3 of your wedding costs. I open it. Inside is a card with gold foil lettering. Thank you for being part of our dream day. And a short message scrolled in Lily's signature bubbly handwriting. Thank you so much for your generous gift and for helping make our wedding so magical. We'll always remember your kindness. Love, Lily and Blake. No mention of me. Not even once. I read it twice, my eyes scanning every line, searching for the possibility that maybe I missed something, that surely she hadn't just thanked Michael, that I, who had planned, paid, and stayed silent, wasn't just guest. But I was. I dropped the card in the trash without another word. Later that night, I sit at the kitchen table with a glass of water, staring blankly at the fridge magnets. Michael comes over, leans on the counter, arms folded. You okay? He asks. I give him a look. He sighs. Aaron, I know you don't want to hear it, but maybe it's time to stop making excuses for them. I stay quiet. You've done more for them than most people would. You paid their mortgage, you show up for every birthday, every holiday, even when they forget yours, and they act like you're. What? Some neighbor who drops by out of politeness? I open my mouth to defend them. They mean well. I start. He raises an eyebrow. Do they? I close my mouth. The words feel hollow before I even say them. Why do I always rush to defend people who forget me so easily? I murmur. Michael doesn't answer. He just reaches over and squeezes my shoulder. Later, I lie in bed staring at the ceiling fan spinning in slow, deliberate circles. My mind wanders. No, it unravels, threads pulling back through years I hadn't dared look at closely before. My law school graduation. I'd worked 3 jobs to put myself through, and when I walked across that stage, my parents handed me a check, $50, and a card that said, so proud. Love, Mom and Dad. 2 years later, Lily graduated with a communications degree from a state college. They gifted her a brand new Subaru with a giant bow and a party at the lake house. I told myself money was tight back then, that maybe they'd finally gotten a bonus or some tax refund the year she graduated. I'd wanted to believe that. But what if it wasn't that? What if I was just less wanted? What if I was always the contingency plan, never the favorite? Lily was always their golden child. While I was quiet and studious, she was vibrant and social, bringing friends home constantly, filling the house with laughter. Mom would light up when Lily burst through the door with stories from school. Dad would drop whatever he was doing to attend her volleyball games. My achievements, honor roll, debate team captain, law review, were acknowledged with quiet nods. "That's our Aaron," Dad would say, always the responsible one. Responsible. Not loved. Not cherished. Just reliable. I roll onto my side and shut my eyes. Sleep doesn't come. The legal reality: Friday morning, I walk into the office early, hoping burying myself in client files will keep the spiral at bay. It doesn't. By mid-morning, I'm sitting across from a small business owner going over a standard tax review. He's trying to sort out a partnership dissolution. "Hey, if I paid half the mortgage for the last 5 years, but the deed's in her name, do I get anything back if we split?" He asks casually. I blink. My throat tightens. He waits, pen in hand. "If it's not in your name," I say slowly, "legally, it gets complicated." I hear my own words like they're meant for me. 7 years. 7 years of writing checks, transferring funds, taking on the upkeep when Mom couldn't handle it and Dad was between gigs. Never once had I asked to be added to the title. I just assumed they knew, that they'd remember, that they were decent. But decent people don't erase your name from a card, don't call you and guess, don't take what you've paid for and hand it off like a door prize. Back at my desk, I open the real estate records database. It takes 5 minutes to confirm what I already know. The house had always been in their names: William and Margaret Shepherd. No co-signer, no amendment. And last week, the deed had been officially transferred to Blake and Lily Morrison. Recorded. Notarized. Final. I sit there for a long time, not moving, not thinking. Eventually, I open my drawer, pull out a post-it, and scribble something on it. I wasn't part of the gift because I was the one who paid for it. That night, when the phone rings and I see my mother's name, I already know it isn't going to be an apology. The phone rings twice before I pick up. "Hi, sweetheart," Mom chirps, as if she hadn't just watched me disappear from her daughter's wedding in stunned silence. "It's been too long. Lily and Blake just got back from Bora Bora. We're having dinner this Saturday, just the 6 of us. You and Michael should come." Her voice is all frosting, no cake. I wait a beat. "Dinner," I say flatly. "Yes. We'll make that rosemary pot roast you love. Come around 5. I don't know why I say yes. Maybe some broken part of me still wants an explanation, hopes they'll admit they've gone too far, that this dinner will be a peace offering, a conversation, a chance to acknowledge what they did. But deep down, I know better. Growing up, Mom always expected me to be the bigger person. When childhood friends took my toys without asking, Mom would say, "Just let her have it, Aaron. You're more mature." When high school friends borrowed money and never repaid it, Dad would shrug. "That's just how people are. You're smart enough to budget around it." They trained me to accept less, to expect less, to be satisfied with the scraps of attention and affection that fell from Lily's overflowing plate. And here I am again, saying yes to a dinner I know will only hurt me, because some part of me still hopes they'll finally see me. The dinner confrontation. Saturday comes with a gray chill that doesn't quite match the calendar. Asheville is shifting into fall. The leaves haven't fully turned, but the breeze carries the first hints of change. Michael and I drive in silence until we hit the turnoff. I stare at the familiar mailbox. The house looks the same and completely different. There are new curtains in the front window, white lace where Mom's sunflower valances used to hang. The doormat reads, "The Morrisons, Est. 2023. Lily's pink running shoes are parked by the door, lined up neatly beside Blake's oversized sneakers. I stand on the porch and stare at the brass knocker I'd helped Mom polish every Thanksgiving growing up. It's like I never lived here at all, I whisper. Inside, the smell hits me first. It isn't just the pot roast. It's the candle, vanilla cashmere, Lily's favorite. Mom used to burn cinnamon apple. The living room has been rearranged. My father's old recliner is gone. A sleek cream-colored sectional now curves under the window. Dinner is already served when we step in. My mom kisses my cheek like nothing is wrong. You look tired, honey. Working too much? Lily beams from her seat, radiant in a white sweater that probably costs more than my monthly car payment. Blake gives me a nod like we're old buddies. Michael and I take the only two remaining seats, one of which used to be my father's. I push a carrot around my plate, waiting. It doesn't take long. Well, Mom says, setting down her fork delicately, now that Lily and Blake have their own space, your father and I have been thinking. My gut tightens. Dad jumps in. We'd like to move into your cottage. My brain stalls. What? You know, he continues casually, the little house you bought up in Fairview. It's perfect for us. Quiet, single story, close to our church. You want to move into my home? I ask, trying to keep my voice even. Well, it's not like you use it full time, Mom says, smiling too brightly. And it's just sitting there most weeks. Lily adds, you and Michael could live together, couldn't you? I think about the cottage, the small frame I bought 3 years ago after winning a major case. It had been my dream since law school to have a quiet place in the mountains. I'd saved for years, worked overtime, skipped vacations. When I finally got the keys, it was the first time I'd felt like I had something that was truly mine. Michael's jaw clenches. I stare at them, my mother's hopeful expression, my father's expectant nod, my sister's smug little half smile. It hits me. They haven't invited me to dinner for closure or reconciliation. This isn't about family. This is about acquiring the next thing I built. I set my fork down. So, let me get this straight. I say slowly, calmly. You gave away the house I paid the mortgage on for 7 years, and now you expect to move into the one I actually own? Aaron, don't be so harsh, Mom says. We're not taking it, just living there. You didn't even ask. You decided, like always. You're being dramatic, Dad mutters. No, I say, my voice sharper. I'm finally being honest. Lily slams her fork down. You've always been jealous. The room goes still. You never liked when I got more attention, more help. You act like you're so noble, but you've been bitter since college. That's why they love me more. I never made them feel guilty for it. My breath catches. And just like that, there it is, out in the open, what I'd never dared say. She screamed it across the table set with our mother's best china. They love you more. I repeat softly. They love you more. Nobody denies it, not even them. Michael reaches under the table and takes my hand. I stand up. If they love you so much, maybe they can live with you. I push back my chair. Michael follows. Nobody moves to stop us. As I shut the door behind me, I don't feel guilty. I feel awake. I don't say much on the ride home that night. Michael doesn't push. The car is silent except for the low hum of the heater kicking in. It has dipped into the 40s, the kind of chill that settles into your bones more than your skin. At home, I drop my purse on the side table and slip off my shoes. My hands move on autopilot, tightening the pillows, opening the fridge just to stare. But inside, everything has shifted. The guilt that usually creeps in after a family confrontation isn't there, not this time, just a strange clarity, like something has finally snapped back into place. The invasion. For the next few days, I bury myself in work. I let the office eat me whole. Client calls, tax prep files, budget forecasting for a small bakery downtown. It's easier to focus on someone else's numbers than my own thoughts. That Friday, I take the day off. I want a break before quarterlies start rolling in. I make breakfast, wash the windows, Let the quiet stretch long. Then my phone buzzes. Motion detected at your property. Brevard. My vacation home. Seconds later, another buzz. This time a call. Unknown number, but I know what it is. This is Dana from Carolina Watchdog Security. Are you the homeowner of 417 Orchard Trail? I am. We had a motion alert. Two individuals entered using a key. Their names match a William and Margaret Shepard. Can you confirm authorization? I stare at the floor. They used a key. It's not a question. Yes, ma'am. That key was not given for that purpose. I want local law enforcement alerted. Yes, ma'am. Do you want us to stay on the line until they arrive? No. I'm on my way. By the time I hang up, Michael is standing in the doorway. What happened? They're in the house. The Brevard house. They used a key. Aaron, they used a key? Like they belonged there? 10 minutes later, we're on the highway. Leaves blur outside the window, gold and rust-colored against the early October sky. My thoughts spiral past birthdays skip, promises broken, the way Lily had thrown her words like knives just a week earlier. They love me more. Mom and Dad have always treated boundaries like suggestions. Growing up, privacy was a privilege I never seemed to earn. Mom read my diary when I was 13, claiming she was just making sure I was okay. Dad borrowed my car in college without asking, returning it with an empty tank and a casual, "You don't mind, right?" When I got my first apartment after law school, Mom came over while I was at work and rearranged my furniture because she knew better. When I changed the locks and didn't give them a key, they acted wounded, as if I'd broken some sacred trust. They didn't see these as invasions. In their minds, everything I had was an extension of them. My achievements were their success. My possessions were family property. My boundaries were an inconvenience. This isn't about sharing. It never has been. They don't think they're taking. They think it's theirs to begin with. We pull up just past noon. The gravel crunches under the tires as we approach the porch, and there they are. My parents, sitting like squatters beside a stack of plastic bins, a cardboard box labeled linens, a bag from Home Goods. My mom is sipping from a travel mug. My dad stands when he sees us, as if this is some kind of reunion. "There you are," he says, smiling. "We figured you'd come around." I get out slowly, walk right past him. The sheriff's car is already parked nearby. The deputy stands waiting, arms folded. "They don't have permission to be here," I tell him. My mother's mug clinks sharply against the wood as she stands. "What are you doing?" she snaps. "After everything we've done for you, how can you be so ungrateful?" "Ungrateful?" I repeat, almost laughing. "You handed away my childhood home like a door prize. Now you think you're entitled to my vacation property?" My father steps forward. "It's just temporary. We assumed." "That's your problem," I say coldly. "You never ask. You assume. You take." "Aaron." My mom's voice breaks into something shriller. "We are your parents. We raised you. We supported you. What exactly did you support?" I cut in. "Because I remember my 21st birthday dinner being skipped for Lily's volleyball game. I remember paying off your house when you were behind on taxes, and I remember getting a $50 check for law school graduation while you bought her a car." Her face twitches. "That was a different time." "No, it was always the same time. I just kept pretending it wasn't." The deputy clears his throat. "Do you want to press charges, ma'am?" My father looks stricken. "Don't do this." I look between them, all the years layering like sediment, the excuses, the favoritism, the rebranded manipulation they called family. "No," I say. "No charges. But I want them off the property today." "Understood?" The deputy nods. "We can escort them to the station for holding, standard for trespass mediation." My mother gasps. "You're sending us to jail?" "Maybe sitting still will make you think," I reply. By the time they're seated in the back of the squad car, Michael is loading their things into the trunk of our car. We drive straight to a local storage facility and prepay a unit for 30 days. That's more than they deserve. but I'm not trying to be cruel, just done. We return home late that afternoon. The apartment is quiet. I drop the keys on the desk and sit down. The deed to the Brevard house is right there under a stack of utility bills. I pick it up, run my fingers across the seal. I've paid for everything, I murmur, a pause, except peace. The social media war. I don't sleep that night, not really. My body goes through the motions, wash my face, change into pajamas, curl up next to Michael, but my mind spins like a wheel with no brakes. Even as I shut my eyes, I see my parents' faces as the officers ask them to leave my property. I remember the click of their car trunk, the shuffle of their bags, the silence they leave behind like a smoke trail. But I'm about to learn, when you set boundaries, some people see it as war. 3 days later, I wake up to the sound of my phone vibrating nonstop on the nightstand. The morning sun barely pierces the curtains, but the light from the screen stabs harder than any glare. 17 missed calls, 14 voicemails, more texts than I care to count, all from cousins, aunts, even a neighbor I haven't spoken to in years. And then I see it, a Facebook post from Margaret, her profile photo a cropped wedding shot with Lily. The caption reads, "In our golden years, we've been cast out by our own daughter, treated like criminals. All we ever did was love her." Below that, two photos. One of my parents sitting hunched over on my porch steps, suitcases by their feet like they're stranded refugees. Another zoomed in of the officer's cruiser in the background. She had taken those before they were escorted away. The comments come in waves. She kicked them out? How heartless. Kids today have no soul. My son would never. One relative writes, "This is what happens when you marry a man who wants to isolate you." She's not herself anymore. I don't cry. I don't text back. I just sit there, phone in hand, letting the words hit like tiny darts. Then come the private messages. "Aunt Priscilla, your mom is devastated. She says you won't even let them stay in the little cottage. Isn't that the one you never use? A childhood friend, I don't know what's going on with you, but I miss the old Aaron, the one who always put family first." Someone else, "You think a house matters more than your own parents?" Shame. My fingers hover over the keyboard, ready to type 1,000 truths. I could say I paid for that house. I was never asked, only assumed. I could attach the mortgage statement, the title, the receipts from every sleepless weekend I worked extra just to afford that cabin. But I don't. Instead, I turn the phone face down and stand. My knees are shaky, not from sadness, but the pressure of holding in every word I want to scream. Michael is already in the kitchen scrambling eggs. He looks up when I enter, reading my face instantly. "You saw it," he says. I nod. He wipes his hands on a towel and walks over. "You don't owe anyone an explanation, not unless you want to." I sit at the counter. It's not just the post. It's that so many people believe it without even asking. He reaches into the drawer beside the fridge, pulls out a thin manila folder, and places it in front of me. Inside are printouts of emails, screenshots, payment confirmations, tax records, everything. "I've been saving these for years," he says, "in case you ever needed to remember what's real." I look down at my own signature on dozens of documents. I had made all the payments. I had paid all the taxes. It was my name that bought peace, even when they treated it like wallpaper meant to fade into the background. Later that afternoon, I head to the office. I need to move, to breathe something that doesn't smell like betrayal. But walking past the glass conference room, I see Emily, the new intern, being scolded by one of the senior partners. She stands stiff, arms behind her back, taking every word without blinking. My chest tightens. That had been me once, silent, accommodating, careful never to rock the boat. I had worked holidays, missed funerals, swallowed slights so sharp they left splinters in my pride, because back then I thought silence was strength. But as I watch Emily nod and apologize for something that isn't even her fault, I see it differently. Silence isn't strength. It's survival, and it keeps you small. The truth emerges. That night, I make a cup of tea and sit at the dining table. Michael is grading student essays in the living room. occasionally looking up at me, his eyes patient and steady. I open my laptop. I don't go to Facebook right away. I start in Word, type, delete, type again. Then I start over. By midnight, I have 12 paragraphs, not angry, not bitter, just facts. The years I paid the mortgage, the money poured into the cabin, the times I was told to just understand when Lily got more, louder, and first. I don't name call. I don't retaliate. I end the draft with one sentence. If you want the whole truth, I'll tell it, but you better be ready for it. I stare at the cursor blinking after that line. I'm not shaking. Neither am I crying. I don't close the laptop right away. I sit there in the dim glow of the screen, watching my own words stare back at me. They aren't laced with bitterness or coated in sugar, just the truth, calm, unfiltered, and long overdue. By morning, the storm has rolled in, quiet but powerful. My inbox fills with messages. I didn't know you paid for the house. One cousin writes. That changes everything. Some of the nastier comments under Mom's viral post have vanished, as if people are quietly trying to backpedal now that receipts are involved. No apology from Lily. No explanation from Mom. Silence speaks too, and in my family, it always said, you don't matter enough to deserve an answer. I'm halfway through my coffee when an email arrives from a name I barely remember, Gregory Bell. He used to be the family's estate lawyer. I click it open, half expecting a form letter, but it's personal. Ms. Shepard, I came across your Facebook post, and I believe there's something you should be aware of. In 2016, your parents initiated a draft to transfer ownership of the family home into your name. It was never finalized. In 2018, however, the deed was reassigned to another beneficiary, your sister. No legal notice was required as the property was still under joint parental ownership at the time. I reread that paragraph 5 times. They had planned to give it to me. They meant to. But then they changed their minds without a word. I stare at the wall for a while, letting that sink in. Then I open a new browser tab and log into the county records portal. Just a hunch. But when I search the Brevard address, my vacation home, there it is. A title search inquiry from my mother's name, dated 2 weeks ago. They were checking the legal status, preparing to try again. The betrayal doesn't feel like a stab anymore. The label is smudged but still visible. Mortgage 2017 to 2024. Inside are years of documentation, loan statements, receipts, proof of every transfer, every dime I'd moved from my personal account to keep the roof over our heads, every dollar I thought I was investing into family. I lay them all out on the dining table, sheet by sheet. By late afternoon, I have scanned and organized everything into digital folders, labeled, timestamped, undeniable. Then I sit back at my laptop and draft a second post. No emotion this time, just facts, screenshots, PDF attachments, the math. I lay it all out, the mortgage terms, the automatic payments, the home repair expenses. At the bottom, I type one line. For years I paid in silence. Now I present the math. I hover over post. Fingers still, breath even. Just as I'm about to click, my phone buzzes. Michael, you might want to see what Lily just posted. I open the app and see my sister, hair curled, makeup flawless, standing in front of the porch at my vacation house, my porch, captioned in pastel script. Home is where the heart is. My fingers curl into a fist before I even realize it. I don't scroll. I stare. There she is, Lily, glowing in soft morning light, holding a mug I recognize, my mug, the one I'd bought from that little shop in Brevard, hand-thrown pottery with a blue glaze that reminded me of the lake. Her caption reads, Peaceful weekend at the lake house, grateful for family. I keep looking. Another photo, Lily and Margaret, side by side, laughing on the porch swing I had installed myself during that brutal summer, staining wood under the sun until my palms blistered. The background gives them away. The birdhouse Michael had mounted on the cedar tree, the wild mint we planted near the stairs, the welcome mat I never replaced after Mom called it too plain. It's still there, like I'd never left. I don't comment, don't text. Don't throw anything. I whisper to no one but myself, steady and low, so it's war then. The legal response, by 9 a.m. the next morning, I'm sitting across from Gregory Bell, the estate lawyer, again. His office smells like paper and carpet cleaner. He offers coffee. I decline. I slide a manila envelope across the desk, thick with receipts, scanned documents, and mortgage summaries. He leafs through them, nodding as he scans key points. This is thorough, he says. We could file for injunctive relief if they attempt any claim or entry again. I want more than that, I say. His brow arches slightly. I want a cease and desist letter, I add, my voice flat. Legally binding, specific language, directly to Margaret and Lily. No room for misunderstanding. He doesn't blink. Done. That evening, Michael comes home carrying 2 grocery bags and a look I've learned to read, quiet but urgent. There's something you need to hear, he says as he sets the bags down. He pulls out his phone, taps around, and hands it to me. The recording is dated 6 months ago. I remember that weekend. He'd stepped out to call her after a strange voicemail about family plans. Her voice fills the room. Erin's always been the workhorse. That's her role. Lily deserves comfort. She's had a harder time, emotionally. You know that. I don't flinch. Michael sits beside me, unsure whether to say anything. I hand the phone back. We'll use that. The next morning, I sit down with my laptop. No emotion this time, just precision. I upload the second post. First, screenshots of bank transfers labeled by year. Then, PDFs of the mortgage agreement. Then the title logs showing the inquiry into my vacation property. I end with the audio. Beneath it, I write, "This isn't revenge. This is clarity. I won't be rewritten." I hit post. Within hours, the reactions roll in, messages, shares, support from people I barely knew. You don't owe them anything. One woman comments, "Thank you for showing your receipts." Another writes, "So many of us stay quiet. We shouldn't have to." Some try to defend Margaret and Lily until they hear the clip. I don't reply to anyone. I just let it sit. Truth has its own volume. By evening, Lily finally breaks her silence. She posts a screenshot of my post with a caption, "We never wanted this to go public, but if you want public, fine. Let's talk legal." Mom comments right below it, "She'll regret this." I close my phone, then smile, because by then I already had the final piece I needed, and they have no idea. Mom grew up in a family where appearance meant everything. Her parents put all their money into keeping up a pot of wealth while their electricity was being cut off. Image was everything, having the right house in the right neighborhood, wearing the right clothes, being invited to the right parties. It didn't matter if you were miserable behind closed doors as long as the neighbors thought you were thriving. Dad came from a family where the eldest boy carried all the weight. His older brother put him through college at the cost of his own education. Their father called it family responsibility. Dad saw himself as the lucky one, the one who escaped the burden. He passed that burden to me. Understanding them doesn't excuse them, but it helps me see why they were the way they were, and why I had been shaped to accommodate. The morning sun cuts across the floor of my apartment like a blade. I sit at the dining table, sipping lukewarm coffee, waiting. It doesn't take long. At exactly 9:07 a.m., Gregory Bell forwards me the scanned letter we'd finalized together 2 days ago. Subject line, delivered. The cease and desist has gone out by courier and email. It addresses Lily formally, Ms. Lily Shepard Morrison, and outlines clear legal terms. Immediate removal of all social media content referencing the Brevard property, full return of all copies of the house key, and an explicit warning regarding the fraudulent title inquiry logged in my name. The closing paragraph reads, "Should any further attempts at misrepresentation or possession be made, the undersigned reserves the right to pursue damages and full injunctive relief under state and federal law." Enclosed with the letter are scanned PDFs, proof of the title search attempt, and evidence Margaret and Lily had accessed my mortgage files using old personal information. They had tried to start a transfer, quietly, illegally, under my nose. I lean back and whisper to the ceiling, You should have known better. By noon, the family group chat detonates. It starts with a message from Aunt Darlene. Is this true? She attaches a screenshot of my post, followed by a screenshot of the letter, which someone has leaked. I don't ask who. Uncle Robert chimes in next. Erin did what she had to. Proud of her for standing up for herself. That's when Lily leaves the chat. Margaret responds in the form of a voice memo, her voice cracked as she speaks. I did it for the family, for the image, for you girls to be close. If we look like we're struggling, people talk. If Lily looks like she's lacking, she spirals. I thought we were doing what's best for everyone. I don't reply. Let them sit in the silence they'd always handed to me. The call from Lily comes at 5:41 p.m. I stare at the name glowing on my phone. I pick up. You really want to drag our family name through court? She says immediately. It's already there, I answer. I'm just finally in the room. She pauses long enough for me to hear the tension in her breath. You're choosing property over people, Erin. No, I say slowly, calmly. I'm choosing peace over manipulation. Another pause. Then the line goes dead. I don't call back. The resolute. The next day at work, we have a team lunch for our new intern project. We sit in the lounge conference room, cheap chairs, paper plates, someone's homemade brownies sweating through foil. It's nothing fancy, but when the intern hands me a napkin with a little name tag taped to it, I freeze. Erin, it reads, spelled right. The handwriting is neat, not hurried, not second-guessed. I stare at it a little longer than I should. For the first time, my name isn't misspelled, not forgotten, not skipped, just seen. I fold the napkin and slip it into my purse without saying a word. That evening, Gregory emails again. He has a short update. Margaret and William have relocated to a retirement community apartment in Hendersonville. 1 bedroom, month-to-month lease. No note from them, no challenge, just quiet compliance. As for Lily, silent. Her social feeds wiped clean, no weekend getaways, no mugs, no lakeside photos. I don't need an audience to feel victorious. Silence, in this case, is the reward. The final voicemail comes that night. I've just sat down on the couch when I see it on my screen. One missed call, one message. It's from Margaret. Erin, we need to talk. We know we messed up. Please, just talk to us. I don't save it. I don't replay it. I delete it. And that, I realize, is the first real boundary I've ever held with them. The voicemail is gone, deleted, not because I want to forget, but because I no longer need to remember it on their terms. In the weeks that follow, life doesn't erupt into something dramatic or cinematic. It quiets, and for once, that feels like a reward. I go back to work. I make dinner with Michael most nights, chicken stir fry one evening, lentil soup the next. We watch documentaries about national parks and argue about whether we'd ever go camping him. Yes. Me. Hard pass. We laugh more than we used to, not because things are suddenly perfect, but because the air is finally clear. On a crisp Saturday morning, I drive out to Brevard. The vacation home, the one I'd fought for, the one I almost lost, is now rented by a traveling writer named June. She greets me on the porch with a smile that doesn't need explanation. Inside, the space has shifted. A few of her things: the room, books on the coffee table, a vintage typewriter by the window. But it still smells faintly of lemon oil and cedar, the way I like it. As I walk her through the drawers set up in the kitchen, she pauses. These napkins, she says, unfolding one gently. They're linen, right? Handmade? Yeah, I nod. They were a gift. I left them behind once. Now they stay. She smiles and runs her fingers over the stitching. It feels like someone really lived here. I nod again, softer this time. They did. The next week, an email from Lily lands in my inbox. Subject: clearing the air. It's a few stiff paragraphs dressed in civility, no names of wrongdoing, just a vague admission of regret over how things unfolded, a line about wanting to preserve peace. Not once does she say sorry. I don't reply. The day after that, A bouquet of lilies arrives at my office. No card. I turn to our receptionist and gesture toward the flowers. They're not for me, I say without blinking. You can keep them. She blinks. Are you sure? They're beautiful. They're not mine to keep. They're someone else's performance. She takes them, and I return to my desk. On a rainy Thursday, I have lunch with one of my longest clients, Lorraine, a retired professor with a sharp tongue and sharper eyes. She's been with it for 10 years, but still wears her gold band like it's armor. Over coffee, she says it out of nowhere. You always did your job quietly, Aaron, but I've watched you. You never let them erase you. It lands heavier than I expect, not because it's a compliment, but because it comes from someone who doesn't flatter easily. I smile, swallowing a lump I hadn't realized was rising. Thank you, I say. That means more than you know. A few days later, I pass by a storefront in Asheville, glass windows streaked with early spring drizzle, and catch my reflection. Not a villain, not a victim, just me, hair a little windswept, eyes less tired than they used to be, a woman who no longer lives to be chosen, a woman who chooses herself. At the office, I begin mentoring a new junior hire, Anna, fresh out of grad school, quiet, capable, a little too quick to apologize. One afternoon, I walk past her desk and see her face fall as a partner takes credit for her work. I stop, turn back. Hey, I say firmly but gently. I saw the report. You did good work. Next time, you bring it to the meeting yourself. Her eyes widen, unsure how to respond, but I smile. Trust me, speak up early. It saves years. That night, back at my apartment, I open the bottom drawer of the hall table. Inside is a small wooden box I'd picked up at a flea market years ago, engraved with swirls and a brass latch that sticks sometimes. I open it and place the old house key inside, the same key they once held up like a trophy, the same one they tried to use to walk through my walls. I label the box with a strip of masking tape, things I survived, and for the first time in my life, I don't give away the key. In my head, I can hear it clearly. They called me ungrateful, but what they really meant was, you stopped giving us everything we asked for. That wasn't betrayal. That was boundaries. Sometimes the people who raised you don't think you exist unless you're useful. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for them is to prove them wrong.